America, Britain, Canada, Germany, and Japan. World War II has its heroes and villains well documented in history books. But who's telling Korea's story? A resilient and proud nation unwilling to bend to its colonial rulers, fought on both sides of the war, burned, and rose from the ashes once again to become the formidable power it was destined to be. This is the raw and unfiltered story of the Korean Navy's evolution. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss it. When Japan formally annexed the Korean peninsula in 1910, everything in its reach became part of the Japanese Empire, including Korea. But while Koreans were theoretically considered subjects of the Japanese emperor, and had the same status as the Japanese, the reality was a polarizing difference. They were treated as underclassed people for decades, and were forbidden from forming political and intellectual organizations. They were simply a means to an end, a tool for its imperial ambitions, which included exploiting resources and a free workforce. A good example of the latter was during the late 1930s, when Japan entered a war against China and the US. Labor shortages led to the creation of Japan's National Mobilization Law, which forced Koreans to either work in mines and factories or serve in the Japanese military across mainland Japan and its occupied territories. Of the approximately 5.4 million Koreans conscripted by the Japanese for labor, around 670,000 were taken to Japan, including present-day Sakhalin Island. They were often forced to work in coal mines, military factories, and construction under dire conditions, leading to an estimated 60,000 deaths from harsh treatment and bombing between 1939 and 1945. But hey, they weren't only in Japan. Korean laborers also worked in their homeland, particularly in Jeju, where they expanded airfields and constructed facilities at Alturu Airfield to thwart a potential US invasion of the Japanese mainland. In 1945, Korean laborers on Songgak Mountain were even instructed to flatten the slope to impede American tanks from advancing. Overall, the total deaths of Korean forced laborers in Korea and Manchuria ranged from 270,000 to 810,000. In the Battle of Tawara alone, only 129 of the 1,200 laborers survived. Think that's the worst of it? Guess again. Japanese records also revealed a harrowing truth. Korean laborers on Mili Atoll were fed human parts from deceased Koreans labeled as whale meat. After learning the devastating truth, the workers there rebelled but were killed by the dozens in the aftermath. And don't even get me started on the fact that many Korean women were made comfort women to Japanese officials under the guise of employment. But back to the war front. During World War II, Korea did not have its own naval fleet. They fought strictly under colonial leadership, and this meant that all military forces in Korea, including ships, were controlled and operated by the Imperial Japanese military. However, after Shanghai fell to the Japanese, the Korean provincial government relocated to Chongqing, China. In December 1941, it declared war on Japan and formed the Korean Restoration Army, consisting of independence fighters in China. This army collaborated with Allied forces and fought hard against Japan until they surrendered in August 1945, marking the end of 35 years of Japanese rule over Korea. But the final ending was not happy for all of the Koreans. After the war, 148 Koreans were convicted of war crimes, with 23 of them sentenced to death. Additionally, the Korean peninsula was divided at the 38th parallel, with Soviet forces occupying the north and US forces in the south. This division set the groundwork for the Korean War and years of political tension between both Koreas. Yet, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Despite starting as a small and underfunded force, the South Korean Navy received significant assistance from the US Navy to rebuild and modernize its fleet. As South Korea's economy expanded, the Republic of Korea Navy was able to locally construct larger and more advanced fleets to independently deter aggression, safeguard maritime communication routes, and support the nation's foreign policy objectives. It's safe to say that the ultimate goal to become a blue water navy in the late 2020s is also possible. However, it all began in the Korean War. At the start of the conflict, the Republic of Korea Navy had less than 7,000 personnel and various types of naval vessels, which put it at a disadvantage against the North Korean Navy, which boasted 13,700 personnel and 110 vessels. Thanks to its UN allies, the ROKS Navy was able to gain control of the surrounding seas and confront North Korea threats head-on. Several Korean ships were used during this heated conflict, but only a few shone like a million stars. Like, for instance, the ROKS Baek-Dusan. Renowned for being the first naval vessel comprised by the Republic of Korea Navy, the Baek-Dusan played key roles throughout the Korean War. It was originally a U.S. Navy submarine chaser from World War II, known as the USS PC-823, but it was renamed and modified to serve as the flagship of the newly established Republic of Korea Navy, which was desperate to bolster its fleet. You see, upon its establishment in 1945, the South Korean Navy had only SCVPs and light wooden patrol ships at its disposal. The necessity of getting capable naval vessels was a massive understatement. Given its importance, the ROK Navy decided to purchase a new vessel independently and organized the Vessel Construction Finance Committee. Top officers, cadets, and servicemen contributed their salaries to collect $15,000. Meanwhile, wives sold scraps and took on laundry and sewing jobs, while the South Korean government added another $45,000 to the fund. After purchasing the USS PC-823, the ship was renamed and modified to serve as the flagship of the newly established Republic of Korea Navy. Being a repurposed submarine chaser, it was a small but versatile vessel constructed with steel hulls for durability and lightness, allowing for maneuverability in shallow waters. For a start, South Korea needed something compact, lightly armored, and suitable for patrol duties. The Baek-Dusan's armament included 20mm Oerlikon cannons for air defense, depth-charge projectors, specifically designed for anti-submarine warfare, and 650 caliber machine guns for defense against smaller, fast-moving surface vessels. You see, the Baek-Dusan, in many ways, was a perfect economical choice for a navy that was just starting out. With a speed of 20 knots, it could be deployed for a range of roles, including anti-submarine warfare, coastal defense, and escort missions. Sure, it wasn't perfect. Its light weaponry was only sufficient for engaging smaller North Korean patrol boats and defending South Korean waters. Yet, nothing could stop him from being a war hero in the Battle of Korean Strait. During the Korean War, a North Korean steamer was assigned to insert troops along the peninsula's southeastern coast, but it was spotted by the Baek-Dusan. The North Koreans opened fire, hitting the Baek-Dusan's bridge, but Baek-Dusan returned fire with her main 3-inch anti-aircraft gun and 650 caliber machine guns. As the North Koreans sustained hits, they tried to escape, but were pursued by the Baek-Dusan in a running battle that ended with the steamer being sunk near Tsushima Island with heavy loss of life. Saying the victory was monumental is an understatement. If Baek-Dusan had fallen to North Koreans, the latter would have been a step closer to completely overrunning the country. Moving on though, let's talk about another great ship in the Korean Navy's fleet, the ROKS Munmu the Great, DDH-976. Named after the Korean king Munmu of Silla, one of the greatest figures in Korean history who united the Korean peninsula during the 7th century, the South Korean was buffed to honor the rich legacy of defense and unity to protect the Korean seas. It is also a part of the KDX-2 Korean destroyer experimental class designed not only to enhance South Korea's maritime security, but also turn the Republic of Korean Navy into a blue water navy. Now, for the uninitiated, a blue water navy refers to a maritime force capable of operating across the open ocean, as opposed to merely coastal or regional waters. In a nutshell, it's basically a type of navy that has the ability to project power, sustain operations, and protect national interests far from its home shore. To put things into perspective, the design of the Munmu the Great was tailored to combine contemporary naval engineering with modern warfighting capabilities. It even features various stealth technologies to minimize its radar signature, which we can all admit is a critical design element for vessels to remain undetected in modern warfare. Finally, with a displacement of approximately 5,500 tons and a length of 150 meters, it's inarguably more versatile than the Baek-Dusan. With its combined diesel or gas propulsion system, Munmu provides a much appreciated flexibility to either use gas turbines for high-speed maneuvers or diesel engines for low-range cruising. Its top speed of 30 knots is also way faster than the Baek-Dusan. And yeah, the hull was built from high-tensile steel to withstand combat stresses while maintaining speed and durability. But while all of these specs are duly impressive, it's the weapons system department that the Munmu the Great truly excels in. Ostensibly, she's armed with Harpoon Block II anti-ship missiles that can strike enemy vessels at significant distances with deadly precision. Plus, she also has a sturdy 127mm Mk45 Mod 4 naval gun for onshore bombardment and surface engagements. Defensively, it's not so slouchy either. Munmu comes with 21 RIM 116 rolling airframe missiles, which provide protection against incoming aerial threats, such as missiles and enemy aircraft. And like that wasn't already impressive, Munmu is also armed with a goalkeeper close-in weapon system, a 30mm rapid fire gun that acts as a last line of defense against incoming projectiles. As we said earlier, one of the major strengths of the Munmu the Great is its multi-role adaptability. Its sensors and radar systems, including a Smart L long-range surveillance radar, allow it to detect and track multiple targets at considerable distances. This ensures it can respond effectively to threats in the air, surface, or subsurface combat scenarios. The ship's Mark 46 torpedoes also make it highly effective in anti-submarine warfare, giving it the ability to hunt down enemy submarines. Despite these strengths, there are some trade-offs. It sports impressive sonar technologies to improve its stealth, but it's a wide ship with a large radar signature. This makes it susceptible to detection by advanced radar systems employed by potential adversaries. Take nothing away from it, though. The Munmu the Great has been involved in multiple international missions that highlight its capabilities and importance to the Republic of Korea Navy. One of the more famous deployments was to the Gulf of Aden as part of South Korea's Cheonghae Anti-Piracy Unit, where it was engaged in anti-piracy operations. It is also a key player in Combined Task Force 151. Set up in 2009, this multinational naval task force was a response to Somali piracy acts in the Gulf of Aden and off the eastern shores of Somalia. It's a mission to combat piracy and armed robbery at sea while working with regional and international partners to strengthen capabilities. Make no mistake, it's a welcome coalition. Safeguarding global maritime trade, ensuring freedom of navigation, and protecting vital shipping routes can never be overstated. Till date, Munmu the Great has been on several overseas missions to protect merchant vessels from Somali pirates through dangerous waters, and, in 2014, conducted anti-piracy drills as part of Combined Task Force 151 in the Indian Ocean with the HMS Defender. Apart from her Combined Task Force 151 escapades, Munmu has also participated in joint exercises with allied navies, likely including the Rim of the Pacific exercise, the world's largest international maritime warfare exercise. If so, Munmu has not only tested its interoperability in the real-world scenarios, but also proved her and the Republic of Korea Navy's worth. So you see, she's absolutely living up to her name. Looking back, South Korea is doing something surreal, from having 0 fleets to becoming one of the more interesting naval powers in the continent. The Republic of Korea Navy has come a long way, and it can only get better. If you enjoyed learning about the history and evolution of the Korean Navy, then you're in the right place. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. And don't stop here. Go through our channel for more intriguing exposure to naval history and technology. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.